Got 5 seconds, Prajay.
Yes, we're closing out. And Pastor, last
We'll
words.
see you tomorrow for another Live Uncut. I apologize.
Welcome in, everybody. I'm Jen Frederick, and this is Philadelphia Live. As you can see, there is a lot happening at this hour, all live. I'm going to walk you all around these boxes. We're going to begin in the upper left-hand side. That is Vice President J.D. Vance. He is at a manufacturing facility in Michigan. We're going to be dipping in there just a little bit. And then on the top to the right, those are the Democrats. They're talking about the SAVE Act. Elements of that would mandate voters use ID. So we're going to dip in there as well. Then we have Markwayne Mullin. He is in a hearing right now because he is who the president believes should be the next Secretary of Homeland Security. So people within that department are asking him questions about his very diverse background. And then below, the room that you see that currently, you can see it looks, there's people there. That is the funeral for Pennsylvania State Police Corporal Timothy J. O'Connor, Jr. He lost his life in the line of duty Sunday, March 8th. So the services are going to be held in Downingtown. There was a public viewing that was scheduled yesterday. The funeral is today. And as you probably can imagine, many members of law enforcement, not just locally, not just regionally, but around the country, are there to show their respects. So we are going to be dipping in and out. It looks like there is someone there speaking, so we'll start there. We're going to start with the funeral.
On whose funeral day we offer you the sacrifice of conciliation, so that should any stain of sin have clung to him, or any human fault have affected him, it may by your loving gift be forgiven and wiped away. Through Christ our Lord. Amen. The Lord be with you. Lift up your hearts. Let us give thanks to the Lord our God. It is truly right and just, our duty and our salvation, always and everywhere to give you thanks, Lord, Holy Father, Almighty and eternal God, through Christ our Lord. In him the hope of blessed resurrection has dawned, that those saddened by the certainty of dying might be consoled by the promise of immortality to come. Indeed, for your faithful Lord, life is changed, not ended. And when this earthly dwelling turns to dust, an eternal dwelling is made ready for them in heaven. And so with angels and archangels, with thrones and dominions, and with all the hosts and the powers of heaven, we...
So again, we're going to be dipping in to the coverage of the funeral service for Corporal Timothy O'Connor. That will be happening throughout the next 2 hours. So we're going to be in and out, just seeing how that service is proceeding. The other thing that is happening at this hour, the vice president, you see him there. He's at a manufacturing plant in Michigan. We're going to dip in there.
Seeing all these clowns in Washington, that is the thing that they tried to take away the most from us. Where do you think the fentanyl that flooded our streets and killed hundreds of thousands of our citizens came from? It came from Joe Biden's wide open border. Where do you think the highest crime rates, the highest murder rates came from during that administration? They came from the fact that we went to war on the police rather than on the criminals who committed crimes. Where do you think the fact that we had elevated murder rates, not just in our big cities, but in our small towns, because we let in hundreds of thousands of violent criminals into the United States of America? So when I talk about the American dream, I mean, number one, that I want you to have a good job that pays you a good wage, that allows you to put food on the table, but also take a couple of nice vacations every year. But what I also mean is that we need to get the people who are making our cities less safe the hell out of our country and focus on American citizens first. Because as much as we have achieved and as much as I'm proud of what we've done over the last 14 months, the Democrats threatened to take us right back to where we were the last time that they had control of the government. Think about it. Think about the State of the Union address. It feels like forever ago. I think it wasn't even a month ago. And as you all know, I have a very unique perspective on the State of the Union address, right? I'm the one person, the president's obviously talking, and I guess me and Mike Johnson, the Speaker of the House, are the two people who just get to see the Congress. We don't have anything to say. You know, you stand up and sit down probably 150 times. But, you know, it gave me a perspective on what's going on in our country. I should say what's going on in our capital more than what's going on in our country, because I realized that there is such cowardice in Washington, D.C., and the political leadership in Washington, D.C. I've never seen anything like it. So you may remember this line. If you don't, I'll repeat it for you. But the president said something to the effect of, I'm paraphrasing a little bit, but he said something like, if you believe that it's in the if you believe that the government ought to put American citizens first rather than illegal aliens, stand up and cheer, okay? And every Republican and like 3 or 4 Democrats stood up and cheered. But what was funny is not just that the Democrats were sitting on their hands, it's that they were all looking around. Like, what do we do here? And what kind of a person is elected to serve in congressional leadership and has to look around at their peers rather than stand up and clap for the basic idea that the American government should be fighting for you, not people who are fraudulently in our country? What kind of a person can't stand and clap for a 6-year-old girl who was hugging her father because she was, you know, a little nervous, she was in the public spotlight, but we were celebrating this 6-year-old girl because she had survived a criminal attack from an illegal alien who shouldn't be in this country? And the Democrats couldn't stand and cheer at that. And the thing that I took away from that is much more than any political issue, any policy issue. I can stand up here and proudly say that we shut the border, we lowered your taxes, and we have the lowest murder rate on history. And that is something I'm very proud of. But you know what I'm more proud of? That I am part of a political movement that is fighting for each and every single person in this room. Doesn't mean you're always going to agree with us. Doesn't mean.
So again, that's Vice President J.D. Vance. He's speaking at a manufacturing facility. It's just one of the big live events that are happening right here. And we're going to be with you guys now until 2 o'clock. You see the House Minority Leader, Hakeem Jeffries. He's speaking with a bunch of Democrats. You also see the funeral for Corporal Tim O'Connor. We're going to talk about both those things. But now we want to take you, there's a Senate Committee on Homeland Security and Governmental Affairs, and they are holding right now, as you see, the confirmation hearing for Senator Markwayne Mullin. He's a Republican. He is from Oklahoma. He's got a very diverse background, which includes being an undefeated UFC fighter. So they're asking him a lot of questions, and we're going to listen in just to see how that is going.
Special assignments outside of DOD was that I offered support and mentorship from a Christian perspective to both Afghans that supported our efforts and other personnel that served in war zones. You stated your special assignments occurred intermittently between 2006 and 11. My letter did not exclude official travel, and it also gave you explicit instructions in that letter for providing classified information, how we could do that, and do it in a way that protects that classified information. You didn't provide any of that. And today is the first time that I'm hearing about your classified activities from 2015 to 16. Quite frankly, as we've had these conversations, you have not been forthcoming with me or this committee. The story always seems to evolve, to kind of change. And as you know, candor, honesty, transparency are absolutely critical, particularly at this time to try to build trust as the Secretary of Homeland Security. So we have to clear this up. We feel pretty strongly we have to understand exactly what this is, especially with all your public comments that have raised a lot of questions. We've checked. The SCIF is available. We're going to go in the, we would love to have you come to the SCIF and tell us exactly what you're talking about. I think that'll put my colleagues' mind at peace. Would you be willing to go to the SCIF this afternoon and tell us the classified activities you're talking about?
Sir, I think this committee made it very clear with the paperwork they gave me that I do not have to disclose my my official travel. That was part of the documents. And it went over 2 or 3 times. I complied with exactly what the committee said. And there is no statement for, or no area for mission work and mentorship. That was a volunteer basis that I did on my own time. And it was very specific over and over again that you don't have to claim official travel.
We want to know what the supposed classified work was. We have real questions about it. I asked the FBI yesterday, I said, and if someone had appeared in any classified document, would that be in this report? And they said yes. I said, well, I don't see anything for Senator Mullin. Why is that? They said nothing showed up. We queried the Department of State, the Department of Defense, other intel folks. So you're in no classified document that the federal government has, according to the FBI, and yet you're telling me you did all this classified work. I don't understand how that recognizes.
Sir, I didn't say all. I was very clear with what I said. I get what you're trying to get to here, and that's fine. But I complied with everything the document said, and it was official travel, and it was a classified trip.
Well, let me just chime in on this. I've agreed. This is the fastest hearing anyone's ever had. This will be the fastest vote anyone's ever had. And that's despite my qualms and problems with your nomination. And I'm willing to do that. But when the FBI came to my office, I asked them if you had done any kind of work for the CIA, the DOD, or any other.
I haven't.
Let me finish. Any of these kind of agencies or any kind of classified work. And they said the way it works is you would have a separate folder if you'd been involved in classified missions somewhere, and we would get to see the folder, and then we wouldn't talk about it. We would look at it privately, and we would know what you're referring to. So it's confusing to us because there may have been some papers that said your official trips were excluded. I don't know which ones were and weren't, but you've now mentioned today that you have activities you've done. And so I think it would be easy, and I'm still willing to have the vote tomorrow, but I can cancel the vote tomorrow. I'm still willing to have the vote, get this done, and get it over with. But I think that just to make clear, and it doesn't sound like it's a secret you're too concerned about divulging, if you would to spend an hour and go to the SCIF or 30 minutes and just tell both the ranking member and the other, and it would be private and it won't be revealed, I think it would get this over with and we wouldn't have a complaint about going ahead with the vote tomorrow.
People read in it, and it was a special program inside the House. Just like I wasn't on Intel at the time, I'm not saying I was, but I have no issue with that at all. I would welcome being brought up. It was very unique, and it was
that
fun.
would be on you. We're not going to try to figure out who the four people are and whether we can have approval to it. And
I don't
but if you're doing something
choose-
that important,
Yes.
Really it probably ought to be revealed and discussed in a
Sir,
classified manner.
Senator, or Chairman, it's not on me to. I don't have the authority to do that. This is why I said I was very clear. Sorry that I never talked specific dates or locations on this, and so I have zero issue with talking about it. But
Do it this afternoon?
I don't have clearance to talk about this afternoon. I don't. It's
So
not
this
me
is
to release.
This is a
to release it.
legislative program. This is a program that Congress assigned you to.
Yes, this was within my official duties.
Who assigned it to you?
Sir, that's not for me to talk to you about on this. I'm sorry. This isn't a classified setting. I'm sorry. I'm not trying to be ugly. You know how classified situations work in classified information.
Which agency classified it?
It wasn't an agency. It was done here, well, in the House on the time.
The House classified it.
I'm assuming. I wasn't on Intel.
We're just not really aware of how the House classifies things.
I have no idea. I know every time we spoke about this, we had to go to the SCIF and visit about it.
But I mean,
I know there was a paper that I had to sign before it even started, and I may be wrong. There may be more than four, but I know it was only me and three other people that ever discussed
so
it.
secret that we can't know about it. I would think that there'd be some paperwork in the SCIF that they should show us saying, this is so top secret and this was made classified.
I have no problem. You're welcome to go to the House. This started in 2015. It ended in little late in 2016. I have nothing to hide on this. This is too easy. I would really enjoy sitting there and having a conversation with you because I don't want you to have a question my character on this. So that's very simple for me, but I can't make that authorization. You guys know that.
Well, it's a little difficult for us to go ask about a program that has no name, and we have nobody that we know to talk to about it. So I don't know how we would begin doing this without your cooperation. But
I'm
if you
willing
do
to
it, I'm
cooperate.
willing to hold the vote tomorrow, but you brought this up, that you were on a super secret mission that you can't tell us
No, I did not say super secret, sir. I said it was classified.
That only four
Only
people
four people
about it.
know? That's
Well, no,
pretty secret.
I only know if there was four people. There was maybe more people that understood it, but I know there was only three people plus me that was ever in the meeting. And so as far as I'm concerned, only 4 people was read in on this.
So did
I
this
don't,
you were on the Intel committee?
no, not at the time, no, sir. I was on the Intel committee after that.
What committee were you on?
So again, what you're looking at right here is a Senate committee confirmation hearing, part of it, for Senator Markwayne Mullin. He is the president's choice to be the next Secretary of Homeland Security. You keep hearing them talk about SCIF, and you might be wondering what the heck they're talking about. A SCIF is an abbreviation for Sensitive Compartmented Information Facility. In other words, it's a highly secured, accredited room or an area within the U.S. government, and they use that to talk about classified information. Not a lot of people go in there. It certainly is not a public room like the room we're seeing here. It has been equipped with all kinds of protective gear to make sure that the room is shielded against things like electronic eavesdropping, hacking. There's all kinds of surveillance to make sure that it is top secret and that the information discussed in that room or a SCIF remains top secret. So again, when he's talking about some sensitive information there, that's why the people on this committee are like, let's go to the SCIF and talk about exactly what it was. And speaking of intelligence, we have a quad box, and I want everyone to see this is one of the most active days we have had in quite some time. You do see J.D. Vance, the vice president. He's in Michigan talking to people at a manufacturing committee. We also have the Senate Intelligence Committee, and they're holding open hearings on worldwide threats. Again, there you see the other hearing with Senator Markwayne Mullin. And then, of course, the funeral right here in the Pennsylvania area for Corporal Timothy O'Connor. He died in the line of duty on March 8th, survived by a wife, Casey, and his daughter. We're going to be dipping in there as well. But we are going to go to this Senate Intelligence Committee. Among the people that are there listening in, hearing about worldwide threats, particularly important because of what is happening in the Middle East. You do have the Director of National Intelligence, Tulsi Gabbard, there, and also the FBI Director, Kash Patel. So again, we're going to listen. You see the panel there. We're going to listen in to that hearing now.
Senator Kelly mentioned earlier, in which the President of the United States invites his campaign donors to, quote, claim your spot, join now to receive private national security briefings to his political donors, featuring a photo of the president at a dignified transfer ceremony with a flag-draped coffin of an American service member killed in action returning to their family. And the American people need to know that the President of the United States is fundraising for his political campaign and his PAC using images of American service members killed in action, and it's a disgrace. Now, Director Gabbard, I'd like to reground this in your core responsibilities. Under the law, you are responsible for providing national intelligence to the President, correct?
Yes.
And to the heads of executive branch departments and agencies, yes?
Yes.
And to the chairman of the Joint Chiefs and senior military commanders?
Across the IC, yes.
And to the Senate and the House and relevant committees, correct?
Yes.
And the law states that the national intelligence you provide to Congress, quote, should be timely, objective, and independent of political considerations, correct?
Yes.
And you noted in your opening statement you're here fulfilling a statutory responsibility and that your testimony, quote, represents the IC's assessment of threats,
That's right.
correct? That opening statement, as submitted to the committee in advance of this hearing, stated that as a result of last summer's airstrikes, quote, Iran's nuclear enrichment program was obliterated, end quote, correct?
That's right.
And is that in fact the assessment of the intelligence community?
Yes.
So the assessment of the intelligence community is that Iran's nuclear enrichment program was obliterated by last summer's airstrikes.
Yes.
And the opening statement you submitted to the committee last night also stated, quote, there has been no effort since then to try to rebuild their enrichment capability, end quote, correct?
That's right.
And that's the assessment.
All right, so again, that's the Senate Intelligence Committee. We're going to continue to listen to that. It's going to happen for the bulk of the time. We are with you guys until 2 p.m. We're breaking away because we do want to go to Chris O'Connell, and he is at the funeral for Corporal Timothy O'Connor, all of this, happening after a horrible traffic stop in Westchester, Pennsylvania. Good afternoon to you, Chris.
Good afternoon, Jen. Yeah, sad and somber day here in Chester County as the community and law enforcement from around the country continue to converge on Downingtown at St. Joseph's Church here, as where Corporal Timothy O'Connor was a parishioner here. He grew up in this area, 15-year veteran of the Pennsylvania State Police, was on patrol on March 8th when he got a call for an erratic driver. He pulled over that erratic driver, made a radio call into dispatch, and that was the last anyone had heard from him. He was shot and killed by that passing driver who ultimately took his own life as well. And today, family, friends, and we just have to show the support here. If we can go, you could see some of them coming up behind me, but just look at just the motorcycles, Jen. I've never seen motorcycles as far as the eye can see, and you actually see some more fellow law enforcement showing up here to the church. You see the large flag. The funeral service is ongoing right now. It is a Catholic funeral. And Jen, we heard before the funeral actually started, we heard from Colonel George Bivens with the Pennsylvania State Police, but we also heard from Casey O'Connor, the widow, the wife of Corporal O'Connor. Amazingly, she was able to speak and gave an eloquent speech and eulogy about her husband. They said they met just as he graduated from the Pennsylvania State Police Academy. They kind of grew up their relationship and their career and his career together. They have a 8-year-old daughter named Kenzie, who is also here inside the church. Just hundreds, if not thousands, of law enforcement. Way too many to the capacity was filled. Many of them still waiting outside for the procession. The funeral is just about finished. It was a private ceremony, and he will be laid to rest at a local cemetery. But also, I want to point out people most likely who never even knew Corporal O'Connor here along the side of the road with flags in support. He touched many lives, whether people knew him or not. He was also a Westchester firefighter, so he served this community for a long time, Jen. He will be missed, and never a good day when you're laying to rest and saying goodbye to a fallen police officer. But the support here from around the country is just amazing here today.
Yeah, just a really, really sad day. Chris, well said all around. I do think we're going to have some video of the procession, so we're going to be covering this just as long as it's happening to pay respect to him, his family, and all of the people that he served. Chris, thank you so much for being there.
Thank you, Jen.
Okay. We're going to dip to a quick break. We've got 2 minutes. You've seen it. There's a lot happening today. We have all of it for you, but we need you to watch. So come on back in 2 minutes. We'll be waiting for you. Welcome back in, everybody. This is Philadelphia Live. We're going to be with you until 2 p.m. because there is so much happening right now. So I'm going to walk you around this, what we call in the business, a quad box, because there's 4 live images right there. I'm going to begin top left where you see the word live. That's the Vice President of America, J.D. Vance. He is in Michigan at a manufacturing facility. He's talking about anything and everything that touches the administration. And then also on the top block, that is a hearing basically where they're talking about worldwide threats to our safety. You do have the FBI director in that room and the director of national intelligence. We're going to dip in there. And then, of course, you see that man right there. That is the person President Trump wants to be the next Secretary of Homeland Security. Again, replacing Kristi Noem. He is facing a lot of questions. It got a bit spicy a few minutes ago because he was talking about travel that he had to do because of being in a classified operation or situation. And they kind of challenged that. They want to know more about what made his opportunity for travel classified. And then, of course, from now until it is over, we are going to be covering the funeral for Corporal Timothy O'Connor. Remember, he died in the line of duty March 8th. He leaves behind a wife, Casey, and an 8-year-old daughter, Kenzie. Both of them are there, and just an amazing amount of law enforcement there to pay their final respects. So we're going to go back to the confirmation hearing for Senator Markwayne Mullin just to listen to what they're saying now.
Mr. Chairman, Senator Mullin, just months before the war with Iran began, the Trump administration negotiated a back-channel agreement, a deal with the Islamic Republic to deport Iranian nationals, including asylum seekers, dissidents. There have been public reports about it. CNN on January 26, 2026. New York Times reported it in a couple of articles in September and December that flights in around that time deported tens of those kinds of Iranian nationals back to Iran as part of this secret agreement. I want to tell you about one husband and wife, Christian converts from Islam, who were sentenced in absentia to 9 and 11-year sentences by the Islamic Republic. They fled to the United States seeking asylum, but they were detained by ICE on arrival. The wife was deported. She managed to take refuge in Turkey. The husband, I'll call him Mr. H, is still here, but he's facing deportation despite showing scars from the beating he received by a government gang. I have both of their declarations. I'd like them to be entered in the record. There are Iranian-American organizations like the Iranian-American Legal Defense Fund that have further information. I have no doubt that you share my outrage about the treatment of this couple and other Iranian nationals who were deported possibly to torture and death in Iran. Will you agree with me and commit that we should stop deporting such people?
Ma'am, sir, I don't know the specifics behind this. I think before I can talk about in hypotheticals, I would need to know what the reasons behind it, but I don't want to deport anybody that's here illegally, or here legally, I mean. And most definitely not individuals that have done everything possible to be a contributor to society. But in these specific cases, I don't know. I'm not familiar with them. I don't know if there's something else in the background that would cause the administration
I'm
to do
talking
it.
in general about tens of people, as many as 55 on one flight, 15 or so on another, not just this couple. But in principle, we should not be sending Iranian dissidents and asylum seekers back to Iran. Wouldn't you agree?
Sir, we do know that our enemies want to infiltrate us and use our rules and our generosity against us. And so I don't know the specifics of these. I don't know their background. I don't know what the reasons was, but I will be happy to look into it.
Let me ask you about another topic. I'm glad that you've committed that there will not be the kind of review that
So again, that is a Senate confirmation committee. It's a hearing for Senator Markwayne Mullin. That man is the person that President Trump wants to be the new Secretary of Homeland Security. He wants this guy to replace Kristi Noem. And, you know, she had a very controversial end to her time as Homeland Security Secretary. And so it seems as though the senators in that room want to make sure that it goes differently, right? They've asked him a number of questions about his background, things that he has done. We know he has a very diverse background. It's one of the reasons why the president said he's good for this job. He will be good as the Secretary of Homeland Security. We will be dipping in and out of that for the next hour and a half. At the same time, we're always watching this, right? It's your money. To say it very simply, the stock market is having a very, very bad day. So one of the guys that we like to talk to about this, to just give us perspective, hopefully give us some kind of good news, is the Chief Investment Officer at Gerard, Timothy Chubb. All right, you've got a smile on your face. I hope that's good news. But this is one of the worst days we've had, right?
Yeah, the market's pulling back a little bit. We've really seen just this grind higher for the market over the last couple of years, 3 back-to-back years over 15%. So coming into this year, valuations were a bit elevated. The market's digesting what has been a pretty strong earnings season, but with some definite headwinds, from an inflation standpoint, what that might mean for the Fed. But seeing a day where we're, off a little less than 1% is, not too surprising, considering the implications for inflation potentially later this year.
And so to put it out of the Chief Investment Officer lingo, right? Basically, the market does not like that that inflation went up way higher than they thought it was going to go. There was a prediction, and I think we all know we're paying more, but when they saw the February numbers, that was a bit of a, whoa, it's that high. I'm trying to talk in regular people talk. Am I right?
Absolutely. Okay. So, later today, the Federal Reserve is meeting and they're going to make a decision and announce, what they feel is, really the balance of their dual mandate. And so the Fed has 2 objectives. One is have prices be stable, and they use interest rates to control that or try to control that to some degree. And the other is for a full labor market, typically a labor market that has unemployment rate somewhere in that 4 to 4.5% range. And when inflation's running a bit hot, as we saw, coming out of the pandemic, the Fed raised rates very quickly to really put the, ultimately some water on the fire there. And just as, as we went through the post-global financial crisis era when inflation was very low and predictable, they kept interest rates very low. What we got this morning was producer prices. And you can think about this as not what consumers are necessarily paying, but what businesses are paying. You can think of it as sort of the inflation pipeline, if you will, and businesses will have a decision to make. Do we eat that cost and ultimately not pass it along to the consumer? Or do we, pass it along to the consumer to protect our profit margins? Every business is going to be a little bit different. And one of the striking, numbers in today's report really came from food prices. And that's something that could, ultimately hit the grocery store shelves here in the future. But it's also important not to overreact to just 1 month. These things can be fairly lumpy. And overall, it's really the oil price trajectory that we're going to be watching closely and see how that impacts inflation over the coming months.
You explained that perfectly. So thank you for giving it to us the way that we need it, meeting us where we are. We appreciate that. I was sitting on my couch on Saturday. I did my Wordle, and then I definitely texted a couple friends. I'm like, am I supposed to be hopping on a investment app? Should I be trying to put some money in something? When the market is down, that's when, rookie amateur investors like myself think there is something to do. Would you agree with that idea, or is that a bad idea?
No, I think every investor should have a plan, and whether that's, saving a little bit in, making sure that you have that 3 to 6 months of savings as much as you possibly can, just to have that rainy day fund, saving for retirement. But it's also, helpful to also save, in a taxable account. even if it's a little bit, here or there, buying an index fund on a regular basis, almost like you would with a 401k, really allows you to take advantage of different points of the market over the course of the year. And some of those days that you might be putting money to work, the market will be down. Some days, it might be up, but having that discipline, not trying to time the market, I think is the most important thing. And having that disciplined saving strategy more than anything else is, crucial.
What I heard was, you don't want me messing around on my couch. You want me thinking long term.
Thinking long term, and no, individual stocks are for the pros. But at the end of the day, there's a lot of wonderful cheap index funds out there that I think are a great place to start for many investors.
I love it. Again, thank you for taking a really complex set of data points and breaking it down for all of us. We see the red, we don't like it, and you really make us feel better about it, better where we are, and just we understand it. So we do appreciate you popping in.
Thanks so much for having me.
You bet. We'll see you soon. Okay, we are going to pop over. There are so many things. That is the President of the United States. We're going to check in on him. He's in Marine One. Caitlin's telling me exactly what's happening. Oh, he's headed for Dover Air Force Base. And people are trying to figure out why he might be headed there. I wonder, Dover Air Force Base is where he's going to be there to attend the dignified transfer for 6 airmen killed in the KC-135 crash. So you may not know this. Dover Air Force Base is where they do the dignified transfer. There's 2 planes. We've seen it after 9/11 and some other awful things. So again, 6 airmen killed in what's happening over in Iran. We're going to probably dip in and out of that. 2 minutes. It's a quick break. We'll come back. There's a lot happening live. Welcome back in, everybody. I'm Jen Frederick. What you're looking at is the senator from New Jersey, Andy Kim. He is questioning the senator from Oklahoma, that is Markwayne Mullin. He is sitting there in front of the Senate committee. It's a hearing on his confirmation to be the next Secretary of Homeland Security. We're going to listen in.
This is something that warned about some of the reversals that are being made when it comes to disaster response and recovery. Your predecessor, Secretary Noem, she suspended a number of these FEMA employees. I just wanted to ask, can you commit that if confirmed, you will adhere to whistleblower laws and ensure that these whistleblowers do not face retaliation for their protected disclosure?
So there are laws in place to protect whistleblowers, and I've said multiple times, I'll work within the law and the requirements of me as secretary.
And I hope that means that you will ensure that these whistleblowers do not face unlawful retaliation for what they have done.
It's against the law, as you said, unlawful. So I said I'm going to work within the law, and that's unlawful.
Okay. With that, I'll yield back.
Thank you. As I said previously, we've scheduled a vote for tomorrow. I'm committed to that. There are several members on both sides of the aisle that would like a briefing in the SCIF. They have it from 1 to 2.
All right, as we see the members of Congress, of the Senate, being very busy, we do know that there is a partial government shutdown. It's one of the reasons why there's some long TSA lines at the Philadelphia airport. So what we're going to do is we're going to take one more quick break, yes? We're going to come back. We're probably going to have Shayna. If not, we'll go back to what you just saw. Welcome back. That live picture right there is in Chester County, Pennsylvania. It's the funeral service for Corporal Timothy O'Connor. He died in the line of duty March 8th. He is being remembered by his wife and 8-year-old daughter. We're going to dip in and out of that. We believe his procession will begin in just a few minutes. At the same time, a lot of people are traveling. It's spring break, and a lot of people are going in and out of the airport. We learned about 24 hours ago that 2 more of the TSA areas at the Philadelphia airport would be shut down. So we sent Shayna over there to check it out. All right, I had people flying this morning. They said it wasn't as bad as what they thought. Through the lines in less than 15 minutes. What are you hearing?
I'm hearing actually the same thing. I was actually quite surprised when I arrived at PHL. There is a lot of people here, I will say. People are traveling, but the lines are moving. I'll flip the camera around so you could see. I mean, I'll walk closer to the display there, but you can see TSA pre-check is just a 4 to 6 minute wait, and then the general wait is 3 to 8 minutes. So things have been moving pretty consistently. The line is there because, again, these are people that are flying out of Terminal A, Terminal B, Terminal E, all those checkpoints that have been shut down. But it's going pretty smoothly so far. So there haven't been a whole lot of complaints. It sounds like the airport has done a pretty good job of containing this as best as they can. So there is a line, but it's absolutely moving. And like I said, the general wait times are not even in the double digits. So that is the good thing if you are traveling out of PHL now. Now, this can change, of course, as we get closer to the evening rush and the night rush and all those things. But as of right now, it's been smooth sailing. So that is the good thing. But a lot of people, do find it inconvenient, especially for people that have to fly out of Terminal A and you're checking in at Terminal D or E. You have a lot of walking to do. It's people with kids, people with canes and wheelchairs. So it is a bit much. So if you're gonna be here, but you know, you have to plan for the extra walking for sure. So certainly some comfortable shoes is going to be your best bet. Because people have to walk, especially to get across all these terminals. But so far, like I said, so good. It's steady. This is TSA pre-check. One thing I will say for folks that do the touchless ID TSA pre-check, there's no staffing for that. So if you do have touchless ID, they are not accommodating that. So they're certainly, a plan for that and accommodate extra time if you're planning on getting through here with touchless ID, because they're not accommodating that. What they have is just for TSA pre-check and the few general lines that they have. That's the staffing that they have. So just if you're TSA touchless, they don't have that, and be prepared to certainly walk because people have to walk here. And it has been a steady flow of, like I said, people coming in really this entire time that we've been here, this entire hour. Or coming up later on in the shows, and certainly a live look at 4 and certainly 5 o'clock when the evening rush begins.
All right, I have a question. I thought there were 2 TSA areas inside of Terminal A, and they shut down one of the 2. Have they shut down both?
So Terminal A East is shut down. I'm sorry, A West is shut down at this point. Terminal C and F. So those are the 3 ones that are shut down.
Got it. All right. Thank you. And I'm glad, look, on a personal note, I'm flying later tonight, so I'm definitely interested in this story.
Yeah, I'm flying Friday, and I'm looking like, okay, which checkpoint do I got to go through?
What's your plan? What's
to
your
make
plan?
sure. So this is timely. Exactly. So now I know touchless ID not working, and don't trust that just because you have TSA pre-check, you're not going to hit a line, and certainly comfortable shoes. That's your plan. That's your plan.
We appreciate the help. Thank you. Good luck over there. We are going to go back to Chester County because this is the funeral for Corporal Timothy O'Connor. As you probably have heard, March 8th, he died in the line of duty. It was a traffic stop in Westchester. He basically pulled someone over because he reported that they were driving erratically. He has been with the state police since 2010. And his wife, Casey, says, you know, they kind of met as he was graduating from the state police. So they grew up in this larger family of law enforcement. He is survived by his wife, Casey. They also have an 8-year-old, Kenzie, his daughter. He was initially taken to Paoli Hospital, where he succumbed to the gunshot there. The governor of Pennsylvania was at that hospital because he gave some remarks on social media saying, you know, I was there with them when all of this went down. So it's interesting. We don't know exactly why the governor was in that room. We do know that, you know, obviously he's the head of all the state police, but we don't know if he was near that area or left his home on Sunday to go be with them. March 8th was a Sunday. Below me in a box, you see Marine One. We do believe that the president, Donald Trump, is probably going to take Marine One over to Air Force One, and then Air Force One will travel to Dover Air Force Base. Dover Air Force Base is one of the places, especially the one place on the East Coast, where they transfer dignified remains. It basically, when soldiers who have been killed in action, government employees, that is where they are, for lack of a better term, their families are there to meet them. Typically there is a flag draped coffin. It's one of the things that Dover Air Force Base is charged with doing. It is one of their missions, one of the things that they do all the time. After 9/11, Dover Air Force Base was the place where so many from the Pentagon were taken to have their remains transferred to family members. And we do know during times of war, especially when the war is in the East, this is where these remains come, right? So they come, it is a very dignified ceremony. It happens in a very special hangar that is inside Dover Air Force Base. And sometimes when it happens, again, this is the president, this is Marine One, but we're told that's where he's headed. He's headed to Dover Air Force Base for the transfer of dignified remains. But what's interesting is when this happens, and it will happen presumably sometime today, you can actually pull over on the highway and you can see a large part of this happening. Many of us have gone maybe from the Philadelphia, Wilmington area down through Christiana, and if you're heading, Dover is kind of like on your way to the Delaware and Maryland shore points, and there is, a highway there. You will see cars pulled over. People who live in and around that area know what these planes look like, know why they're there, and the hangar in which this happens is so large, and it does face in some areas the highway, that you can pull over, pay your respects, take a moment of silence to think about these families, these men and women that have just truly given the ultimate sacrifice. So it's interesting that we're talking about this in terms of the president when we're also talking about what's happening in Chester County with Corporal Timothy J. O'Connor. There's just, a lot of ceremonies that are happening today. Certainly there are two different situations. Corporal Timothy O'Connor was involved in a traffic stop. These 6 men were involved in Operation Epic Fury, what's happening over in Iran and the Middle East. But all 7 of the men collectively gave their lives for the people that they serve, whether it's the community of Pennsylvania or the entire United States of America. All right, so we're going to go back to Marine One so that you can see that. We do believe in just a second you will see the president walk down those steps. We always say this, it's interesting to see who's traveling with the president. Rarely is it the same group of people. We believe he's headed now because you see that salute. And you see he always is quick to talk to the men and women that are protecting him, that are transporting him. We do believe the Secretary of War, Pete Hegseth, is on that plane, as well as several other members of his cabinet. And again, what we have been told is that they are headed to Dover Air Force Base, which is generally in the Philadelphia area, for what they call the dignified transfer of remains. It's when the military brings in the men or women who have given the ultimate sacrifice, and then they are transferred to their family members. Again, that's Air Force One that you see the president going up. Certainly a very somber trip that he's taking today. In days and weeks in the past, we've seen him, on campaign visits and speaking to people for a number of reasons, always with a fist pump, as you see right there. But a definite, very somber day and probably a very somber mood on Air Force One today. Certainly he's waiting for the other members that are traveling with him. Typically there are members of the White House press corps, the press pool, that will be with the president. Depending on the day, depending on what they're doing, they are either invited to speak with the president, or the president or members of his team will go back and brief them about what the day looks like. That does look like Caroline Leavitt. Yep. Caroline Leavitt, who is the president's spokesperson, will be on that plane. And then typically when they land, there will be a small briefing. We're not sure about whether or not we will have that in Dover, but they're there again for the dignified transfer of remains for 6 men killed during Operation Epic Fury. And you might remember the president said that he believes the mission there in Iran and over there is necessary to protect the United States. He also said there would be deaths. People would lose their lives in this mission. 2 minutes, we're going to come right back. We're glad you're here today. Welcome back in, everybody. What you're looking at is a live picture of Air Force One. The president and some members of his cabinet, including the Secretary of War, are on that plane now. That plane is headed to Dover Air Force Base in Dover, Delaware, for a dignified transfer of remains. 6 men who gave the ultimate sacrifice during Operation Epic Fury are being returned to their families there. And then in the big box, the Pennsylvania State Police, as well as many different members of law enforcement from many different departments, are remembering Corporal Timothy J. O'Connor. He was shot and killed while conducting a traffic stop March 8th, so on a Sunday earlier this month. Family members, fellow state troopers, law enforcement from across Pennsylvania and beyond are all gathering right there. That is St. Joseph Catholic Church. It's in Downingtown, Pennsylvania. We do believe the procession is about to begin. Before the funeral, his wife, Casey O'Connor, spoke, and she basically said, in part this, I'm quoting her now, "I hit the husband lottery. He was raised to be a true partner in our marriage and to put our needs above his own." She also said, "He worked hard to build us a beautiful life." We know that he was not only a state trooper, we know that he was a firefighter in Westchester. And she also said this, which is really interesting. Casey O'Connor, the widow of Corporal Timothy O'Connor, said, I'm quoting again, "Now my last remarks may seem strange, but I already spoke with Father Oletta and it's okay to say it back." And then she said, "Go Birds." Pretty special, pretty special. The acting commissioner of the Pennsylvania State Police also spoke, saying he was a son, a husband, a father, a colleague, and a protector of the people of this Commonwealth. Because remember, these men, these women, they put themselves in harm's way, never knowing if they're coming home, hoping that they will. Their families hope that they will, but every day that they leave their home, there is no guarantee that they will return. So we know that he was a 15-year veteran of the Pennsylvania State Police, and many people talked about his mentorship. He volunteered in programs like Camp Cadet, and then obviously they talked about his role as a husband and a daddy. He leaves behind an 8-year-old daughter, Kenzie. Kenzie and his wife, Casey, both there to see everyone remember the person that they did wish came home that night. And as you can see outside of that church, just so many officers surrounding the building. We saw earlier an American flag was raised really high by a couple of cranes. It was a visible sign of respect for the law enforcement community. We know that Philadelphia Police Commissioner Kevin Bethel was there, said it was important for him and his department to show support for that family. So again, what you're looking at right here in 2 different boxes, the smaller box, that's President Trump, and he has been taken, first he was in Marine One, now we're looking at Air Force One. A really somber day with both these images. President Trump is headed to Dover Air Force Base to be there for the dignified transfer of the remains of 7 men who gave the ultimate sacrifice as they were killed in action during Operation Epic Fury. You know, a mission that the president said was necessary to protect the United States of America. He also said when these men were killed that there would be deaths and that we needed to expect this in times of war. But certainly, again, the families that are left behind, no one wants that. No one wants your family member to be the one that does have to give the ultimate sacrifice here. So again, we do think that because Dover is so close to Washington, D.C., you can drive it, I think in less than an hour. We might see the president touch down in Dover. At the same time, we're looking at this image of the funeral service for Corporal Timothy J. O'Connor. You know, a lot of people were just really surprised by what happened in this traffic stop. Basically, police said that within seconds of approaching the vehicle, the driver opened fire, killing Corporal O'Connor. The authorities have identified the driver, a 32-year-old Jesse Elks, who then apparently turned the gun on himself. So certainly that investigation is something that is ongoing. Many people trying to figure out exactly what happened. We know those details, but what was the bigger picture there? The last words that were heard by Corporal O'Connor, apparently he was calling in and saying, I'm pulling over an erratic driver. And again, those are some of the last words that anyone heard from him in terms of being recorded. So again, big box, that's Air Force One. That's President Trump on his way to Dover. The other thing that we have going on, there's another homecoming. I believe this one is in Florida, of another soldier that was killed. So just, I can't say, there you see that flag, the crane carrying the flag, the cranes, I should say. It's a really, really somber day here today, as we remember. So is this Florida? This is Florida, okay. So this is Major Cody Cork returning home to Polk County as the community there in Florida prepares to remember that fallen soldier. A very solemn homecoming. This was a U.S. Army Reserve Major, 35 years old. He was killed in the line of duty while serving in the Middle East. His remains are expected to arrive at the Lakeland Linder International Airport right now. That's what we're looking at. And then a law enforcement and military procession will escort him home to Winter Haven. So all of that in the general Southwest Florida area. So, about an hour or so away from Tampa, if you're trying to figure out exactly where they were. He was promoted after he died. He's being remembered as a leader, a friend, and a hometown hero. He did attend Florida Southern College through ROTC, and that's when he began to serve in the military police as an Army Reserve officer. So again, we do have this, and he was a 2008 graduate, by the way, of Lake Region High School. That is in Florida. So again, all together now, we have 8 people total that we're remembering. Small box, that's in Florida. That is a plane, we believe, carrying the remains of Major Cody Cork. Again, a Army Reserve Major who was promoted after he died to captain, from captain to major. And then the bigger picture there is what we have been talking about. That's something that's happening right here in our area. It's a somber day. It's an important day. We are glad you are with us. We're going to take just a 2-minute break and come right back. welcome back, everybody. This is Philadelphia Live, and what you're looking at is two different perspectives, two live cameras. We're talking about the funeral service for Corporal Timothy O'Connor. He was a member of the Pennsylvania State Police, and he was killed in action on March 8th, which was a Sunday. It all happened in Westchester. It happened really quickly. He apparently pulled over a car that looked like it was driving erratically. That driver, within seconds, opened fire on the corporal, and he later died at Paoli Hospital. He is survived by his wife, Casey, who, by all accounts, is strong and just loved her husband. Also, his 8-year-old daughter, Kenzie, is left behind as well. You can see just the mass of law enforcement there to really pay their respects, to let Casey and Kenzie know that, you know, he will be remembered and he was important, and they are thankful for his service to this community. We know that not only was he a member of the Pennsylvania State Police, he was a firefighter in Westchester. Casey, his widow, says they kind of met right when he was graduating from the Pennsylvania State Police. So she described it like they grew up together. And she also said that he always put his needs, or their needs rather, above his own needs. We did hear a story, I think a week or two ago, where someone pulled up at like a state police barracks, beeping the horn, and Corporal O'Connor apparently ran out, started doing some version of CPR, and the person was having a heart attack. And Corporal O'Connor literally saved that person's life. And his family, you know, after Corporal O'Connor was killed, really wanted people to know that, like, sure, there's a lot of stuff on a page that's written about him, a lot of descriptive events in terms of his career, but it's the day-to-day interaction within that job that really meant something to the people in and around the community that he served. And he was in our area. Again, just right here, taking care of so many people in so many ways. We know that his widow, Casey, asked the priest at the Catholic Church if it was okay, and ended her remarks with a hearty "Go Birds," just to give you an idea of what this family was about. I think what we're about to see is the procession of his body. We're just going to listen in real briefly.
Present! Arms! Color guard. Present. Arms.
So you saw that the flag-draped coffin was put in the back of a vehicle. We do know that at some point there will be a procession. We also know that there's a little 8-year-old girl that's watching all of this, along with her mom, who lost the love of her life, surrounded certainly by people, men and women, who will support them throughout all of this and in the weeks, months, and years to come. But there certainly is nothing that can replace Corporal Timothy O'Connor to those two, to Casey, his wife, to his 8-year-old daughter, Kenzie. You know, it's just a really heartbreaking and somber day. And by all accounts, this happened so quickly, and there are so many questions about how this happened, why this happened. Chris O'Connell is there on the scene, and he was saying the amount of motorcycle police officers there was just, you know, something he's never seen before. That shot certainly gives you some perspective on how many of them there are that are there. We know that the acting basically commissioner of the state police is there. We also know that the Philadelphia police commissioner is there. He said it was important for him to show his support. We also have seen there's plenty of police officers there and different parts of law enforcement from Pennsylvania, but New Jersey has a big group there. We understand Delaware, and there are people who are there to support that family, to pay their respects from all over the country. There was a public viewing yesterday. We're told that hundreds of people, including more police officers from all around the region, were there to pay their respects. You know, the one thing that the Philadelphia Police Commissioner, Kevin Bethel, keeps saying is that it was important for him to bring my entire team down here to show and honor and give some reverence to his family, that the work he did mattered, that he mattered. So that's one of the reasons why you see so many of his law enforcement brothers and sisters there on the scene to remember him, to let his family know that the work matters. And by the way, we've talked about this. His work wasn't just in law enforcement. He was a firefighter. He volunteered to mentor younger kids. We know that his wife and his wife Casey and him, they met kind of at the time that he was graduating from the Academy for the Pennsylvania State Police. He graduated around 2010. So Casey has said that, you know, they kind of grew up in this life. They grew up as a law enforcement couple, as, you know, a family that put others first. That was one of the things that she has said so many times, is that he put everyone first. He was a son, father, just a colleague that everyone really seemed to have loved. We talked about it just a few minutes ago, that we learned that, you know, there was someone honking a horn outside of his barracks, and he ran outside to see what was going on. He didn't ignore that there was a noise happening. He didn't, you know, wait to see if someone else was going to go out there. He went out there, and he was able to help someone who, as it turns out, was having a heart attack. And that person was saved. That person is here. And his family is so thankful that Corporal O'Connor was in the barracks at that time, when I believe it was their father drove up, was kind of parked outside and honking his car, and they were able to get him the help that he needed. So again, that father, that dad, got to come home. And we know that this father, Corporal Timothy O'Connor, is not coming home. And someone had to tell his daughter that. Someone had to tell his wife that. They say that's obviously one of the hardest things to do when it comes to being a member of law enforcement. All right, we're going to take just a 2-minute break because we do believe the procession is going to begin. So we're going to obviously keep our eyes here, keep remembering, keep thinking about this family, and we will be back with you guys in just 2 minutes. Welcome back, everybody. I'm Jen Frederick. This is Philadelphia Live. These are two live images that we're looking at, two different camera angles for the funeral service for Corporal Timothy O'Connor. This was all happening at the St. Joseph Parish in Downingtown. There was a public service yesterday where members of the public, obviously, were able to come in and pay their respects. And so this was the funeral today, where I'm told there were so many people that came. There was officers that were just standing, waiting. I believe the procession is happening now. You know what? Maybe I'm wrong. Yes? Not yet. But again, he died in the line of fire, March 8th. Pulled someone over who was driving erratically. That person shot and killed him, and then turned the gun on himself. So there are some questions, but the amount of information coming out of the investigation might not be, a big amount of information. As you can see, some of the cars are coming. So many vehicles will be involved in this procession, again, for Corporal Timothy O'Connor. He lost his life Sunday, March 8th. He passed away in Paoli Hospital. He was taken there after he was shot. The governor was at the hospital at some point with the family and really said how strong Casey, his widow, was. And when you hear some of her remarks from today, you see that again. You just see how strong she has been. In part, her remarks said, "I hit the husband lottery." She said he was raised to be a true partner in our marriage and to put our needs above his own. She also said that he worked real hard to give them such a beautiful life. She also gave a Go Birds with the permission of the priest. Seems like a true family community member, and they are just going to luckily have the support of everyone you see there. So he was a 15-year veteran of the Pennsylvania State Police. He worked on mentorship. He worked in programs such as Camp Cadet. He also really was devoted to his wife and his daughter. We've heard a lot about just how connected he and his 8-year-old Kenzie, his daughter, were. Many of the speakers at his funeral just talked about his service, how he was always there, just doing everything he can to make sure that he was a really valuable member of that law enforcement community. We've seen that there were 2 cranes that raised an American flag because everyone in that area wants people who may be going by to know that it is a member of law enforcement, and they do want people to show their respect to what is happening. Just a really somber, heartbreaking ceremony today. We've been talking about this. The president is on his way to Dover Air Force Base in Delaware. He will be there for the transfer of dignified remains. 6 men lost their lives during Operation Epic Fury. They'll be returned to their families in Dover. And then we're watching this right here in Chester County, the funeral service for Corporal Timothy O'Connor, just described as a protector of the people of the Commonwealth. And what an amazing thing to have that said about you, that you're a protector of the people, because ultimately that's why these men and women go to work every day. They want to make sure that all of us are safe. Basically, what we're being told happened is that he was shot and killed while conducting a traffic stop on March 8th, a Sunday, just not long ago. And then apparently the person then turned the gun on themselves and shot themselves and killed themselves. So it sounds like, just a remarkable turn of events that happened so quickly. His last words, he called that in. He said, there's someone driving erratically, and that's really the last time anyone was able to hear from him. And it was just a simple traffic stop earlier this month that, has changed this community, changed this family for the future. We are waiting for them to escort his body. We saw that there was a flag-draped coffin that was put in the back of a car. We saw family members there kind of watching the events that are unfolding. Unfortunately, this is, a ceremony that they hold far too often, but there is, basically a tradition that they do. There are things that happen to make sure that he is remembered, with such heart and professionalism as anyone there can muster. Certainly American flags, not just the one we see from the crane, but flags are going to be a big part of what we will see during the procession. It is remarkable to see all of those officers on motorcycles. Chris O'Connell is there as one of our reporters, and he basically said he's never seen that before. Certainly many people there to pay their respects to Corporal Timothy O'Connor. He had been with the Pennsylvania State Police since 2010. Casey, his widow, said that's kind of when they met, right when he was graduating the academy. So she has described it like they both grew up with this. They grew up in this law enforcement family, being a part of that community. We know that people who work for the Pennsylvania State Police, they don't work Monday through Friday, 9 to 5. They really have a big, varying range of schedules and shifts and responsibilities, depending on which barracks they're working at what time. But certainly we know that all of them remain dedicated to keeping the rest of us in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania safe. You have to believe Governor Josh Shapiro is there. We haven't seen him. We know that he did go to the hospital when doctors were trying to save Corporal O'Connor, and that ultimately did not happen. But he was there, and the governor, spoke about Casey O'Connor, and talked about how brave she was, how strong she was. I do believe his parents were there as well, and the governor also spoke about just the fact that the family was close-knit and definitely was trying to be there for each other. All right, we're going to listen in just again real quick just to see if we can hear what's happening. All right, as we wait for the procession, we are going to take one quick break. We're going to be gone for 2 minutes. We'll be right back. This is the story we're following today. Welcome back in, everybody. What you're looking at is two perspectives, live images. It is the funeral for Corporal Timothy O'Connor. We know that he leaves behind an 8-year-old and his wife, Casey, as well. It looks like the family is going out. We're kind of waiting for the procession. And so as we wait for that, we're going to cover some other news. We will be going back there once that begins. But there is a water main break in Kensington that is no ordinary water main break. Apparently a truck fell through part of it. Again, this is in Kensington. The streets are very, very old. Greg is there. Am I right? Did a truck fall through the street?
Yeah, no, Jen, I mean, you're exactly right. I mean, as you mentioned, we're in the Kensington section of the city. Wishart is the road that we're on. And I want to flip this around so you can see real quick. This truck, this was the type of truck that actually went through that hole last night. And so it was a situation that had occurred where there was a pothole, according to people living in the area. They said that there were 2 potholes along this stretch of road, and they said there's a speed bump. They said there is one that's a smaller pothole, and then there's another one that is a larger pothole. And they had mentioned the fact that the larger one just kept growing and growing and growing. And so essentially what ended up happening was there was a water department truck, similar to the size of that truck right there, that was driving in this area around, folks said around 11 p.m. last night, and that truck actually fell into the hole and was kind of leaning relatively close to where the row homes are. This is the scene now, though. You see crews are out. They are working on this. You know, they were talking about the fact that they're doing some work to repair a water main break type issue, but it is blocked off right now. Crews have been working. There's been some folks in the neighborhood that have mentioned that their water is fine. Others have said that they may not have cold water, or they're dealing with some type of issues. We had an opportunity to speak with a woman. She walked outside of her house when she saw all of this going down, because of course there was a large tow truck that had to come in to pull this truck out of the hole. And so this appears to be a situation that's been kind of ongoing in this neighborhood, dealing with, you know, water main breaks and issues like that. The woman that we spoke with, she wasn't necessarily familiar with hearing about so many incidents, but then another woman that we talked to closer to the situation was talking about how this is an ongoing thing. So at this point in time, they have gotten the truck out. They got the truck out last night, but now they're continuing to do more work to try to repair whatever's going on underneath the ground there, Jen.
So Greg, just so you know, as we're listening to you, we're also watching, kind of waiting for the procession from Corporal O'Connor. So I just want to ask a quick question. It sounds almost like a sinkhole versus a water main break. I mean, in Florida, where I grew up, you heard about this, like swimming pools, cars falling in like that. I've never heard of a water main break. I mean, it's the same thing. It's like water underneath, very similar circumstances. Mm-hmm. Do they know why this happened?
Yes, I mean, right now at this point in time, we have been trying to get in contact with the water department to try to figure out what exactly occurred. I mean, right now, people are calling it a water main break, but it could be something else. But like I said, we've been trying to reach out to them. We have not received any response yet from the water department, because also one of the questions that we had is there was somebody that was in that vehicle, and we were wondering to make sure that that person was okay. So there's still a lot of questions on this, but for right now, crews are out and about. They're doing whatever work they have to do. It appears as though when you look at the hole, they're digging kind of deep, trying to do whatever type of work needs to be done to alleviate this issue. But people living in the area say it's been an ongoing thing, especially with this pothole that they've been dealing with on both sides of the speed bump, one just continuing to get larger and larger, and the end result, you have a Philadelphia Water Department truck that looks just like this one that winded up in the hole.
Okay, thank you. We appreciate it, Greg. We are going to move back over to that procession. It looks like it's beginning now. Again, these are the officers that will escort the body of Corporal Timothy O'Connor. Again, a 15-year veteran of Pennsylvania State Police, just dozens and dozens and hundreds of members of law enforcement escorting his body. The funeral just happened, so we're going to listen in just a few seconds. What's happening, but we can certainly see, again, just the dozens and dozens. That is the car that we did see live right here, where his flag draped coffin, basically it's in that vehicle, and you just see the massive amount of law enforcement. It's also good to see the people that are standing there, paying their respects. We know the family will probably see those people, and I could only imagine, be very happy to know that they are standing there, that they do think this matters, this moment. They are clearly here to let this family know and this community know that Corporal O'Connor meant something to them, that his service is important and meaningful and meant something to them. Again, we've talked about this. He does leave behind his wife, Casey, and 8-year-old daughter, Kenzie. Both of them in attendance today, and both of them a part of this very big service for a man we were told is worthy of this, that he not only went to work every day and did what he was supposed to do in terms of his mission, in terms of his orders, but he went beyond that. And he would, even within his workday, find a way to help people when they needed it. So you do see this very wonderful traditional ceremony happening for him. These are moments that certainly Casey, his wife, will never forget. We speak with widows of fallen officers, and they say, this does help them. It lets them know that, again, that their dad, their husband, their son mattered to the community that the person was protecting has gratitude and knows how important it is, and knows that this person, Timothy O'Connor, is never coming home. We know that these men and women that work for law enforcement, the military, that is something that their family faces every day, knowing on one day they may not come home. Interestingly, we see a lot of American flags there. Again, that small box is a shot of 2 cranes that also have an American flag. And then you see the corporal's coffin in the back of that vehicle being escorted by his brothers and sisters in law enforcement. So many flags, so many motorcycles. And again, we know that Kenzie, his 8-year-old, Casey, his widow, is a part of this. We also know this. The president is landing in Dover Air Force Base, in Dover, Delaware. I believe we're going to bring up that camera. There you see it in the small box. That's the president. And he is there in Dover for the dignified transfer of 6 men who died in action as part of Operation Epic Fury. This is where the transfer of dignified remains happens. It's the East Coast spot where it happens. So just a really, really somber day today as we see 2 different groups of people remembering humans, men, who gave the ultimate sacrifice, that really did what they are called to do. And their families also giving this sacrifice, because we know this. When there is a person who serves for the military or a police department, their family serves. Their family is in on it. They know the risks, they know the rewards, they know the service, and they know how important all of it is. So again, as the procession for Corporal O'Connor moves on, I think we're going to flip the boxes a little bit to see exactly what's going on in Dover Air Force Base. We're told these are the 6 men who were killed in the line of duty. Their bodies are being brought back to Dover Air Force Base. And some of you may have seen a service like this. I shared with you guys after 9/11, I was there and people were pulled over on the highway as the people who were killed in action at the Pentagon, their bodies were brought back here to Dover Air Force Base. You see there, members of the President's cabinet are there as well. Again, we call this a dignified transfer of remains. It's when the bodies of service members killed in action, again, it could be at the Pentagon. We know that these men, 6 of them, were over in Operation Epic Fury. That looks like it's the underside of Air Force One. Not really sure why we have that camera right there. So, you know what we're going to do? We're going to take a quick 2-minute break. We're going to come right back. All right, welcome back in, everybody. I'm Jen Frederick. A somber day. It's also an ugly day on Wall Street. Yeah, we talked about this earlier with the chief investment officer over at Chubb, and it's just not good. Apparently, the inflation came back. Inflation report, specifically where it has to do with what food cost and what energy cost. It came back like twice as high as they thought it was going to be. They knew that there would be inflation year to year, but apparently, again, the amount of inflation really, shocked everyone. So the stocks fell today after the latest reading on the prices pointing to accelerating inflation. The investors right now are playing a waiting game. They're waiting for the Federal Reserve for their decision to see what they are going to do. They do believe that interest rates will go up, but until the Fed makes that decision, no one can be really sure about this. They basically learned that the wholesale inflation went up almost a full percent, so 0.7% month to month in February. That means like from last year to this year, or actually month to month is January to February. And remember, that's before the war in Iran started. It's way before anything had to do with that. We do know that the Fed's policy will happen today. And basically what we know, and it was interesting how Timothy Chubb explained it to us, that the inflation has gone to the businesses. So this is data that maybe if you're a small business owner, maybe you do sell food, your cost has gone up way higher than expected. So now basically what's happening is the investors are trying to figure out if those businesses, big and small, will pass on that inflation rate to their consumers. The other thing that we have, and we've been looking at this for a couple of weeks now, is our AAA gas map. And if you live in Pennsylvania, specifically Philadelphia, you don't like this map. Like, I'm driving around Philadelphia, I'm not a fan of this map at all, because you can see right there, Bucks County, Montgomery County, Berks. It's not good. Where do we go? Delaware, go to the lighter red. What county is that? We have to go, okay, so we have to go to Northampton or Lancaster County. What about blue? What's the blue one? That's York. To get a penny less, we have to go all the way to York. I'm not doing it. Because they always have these things, whether or not we are going to spend the money or the time to get out, into those other areas. So look, regular, which is what a lot of people are using, but many people do use premium gas. You get a car and it says you have to do, what's that?
Your car uses premium.
My car does not use premium. I have a plug-in. Do you know I have a plug-in? I have an EV. I know. Good idea from me. We do have fuel cars as well, and I have told my family to park the cars that use fuel, or at least use them less than my car. So, all right. And do we have a map in New Jersey?
Take a look at
A week ago.
compared to today.
Where's that?
Right where the mouse.
Right where it says a week ago in front of my 20 cents. That's a lot. So what's interesting is we talked to Janet Tidwell from AAA, and I said, when is it going to be that people change what they're doing, that they're not going to drive to their mom's on a Sunday? She says once that this price right here gets to when it goes from $3 to $4 a gallon, regardless of it being 3.7, whatever. She said when it gets up, that's when people will make different decisions. All right, Camden County, that's where we can go. But again, you're only saving like 1 cent or 2 cents, and you have to pay the tolls. So Salem County, maybe if you're there, Cumberland, but again, you have to drive there. Like if you already live there, if you live, what's the dark blue? Go up there. Salem, you live in Salem County, fill up your tank and sit right there. Don't go visit your friends. You fill out your March Madness brackets and you stay right there. It will be interesting to see how high the gas prices go. Do we have Delaware? Why not? Why leave them out? All right, wait. Hey, nope, they're not doing, nope. Maybe they'll go over to New Jersey and get some of that. Again, this is all reported to us from AAA. We get gas prices daily into our email, and a lot of us just kind of look at it and roll our eyes. 6 months ago, 8 months ago, and now everyone's kind of waiting for these emails because AAA always wants to tell us what's happening. All right, how about some good news? Is there good news with weather? I don't know. Well, here's the good news. We are gaining 2.5 minutes of daylight per day. Did you feel it yesterday? I didn't at all. 10:46 a.m. Friday is when it's officially spring. So that'll be during the Good Day After show. Maybe you'll go outside and people will cheer for that. I do know that it's supposed to be colder tomorrow than it is today, which how could it be? Because it is so darn cold. We got 2 minutes. We're going to take a quick break. We're going to come back with Kelly Rule. She's working on a cold case. We have a lot happening. Just stick around. We're here till 2. Welcome back in, everybody. I'm Jen Frederick. This is Philadelphia Live. All right, we do have Kelly Rule out there. She's working on a really interesting story. I see her. Good afternoon. Hi. Wait, are you frozen? You're back.
Hey, hi, Jen. I'm back. Sorry, we are in transit. We are heading out to East Oak Lane, to the area of 7th and Madera Avenue. And that is where Philadelphia police say 41-year-old Joe Welsh was killed back on 1998. His case still remains unsolved. So we sat down with his brothers and a close family friend who also happens to be a retired FBI agent who is helping to get the case kind of back in the news and is working with Philadelphia police as they re-examine the case. There was DNA evidence collected that day that they're hoping modern technology will be able to help out with. They're also, circling back on leads they had back then and some new leads as well. So they're hoping that after nearly 30 years, there will finally be some answers in this case. Joe Welsh was working for the city's Department of Licenses and Inspections. He lived in this area, and according to his family and police, he had to go to some kind of seminar and training in the morning, and took the train back to the Fern Rock station, was done a little early, had some inspections to do that afternoon, and he was walking to his car, which was parked in the area of 7th and Madera, an area that is very close to where he grew up, so familiar neighborhood, low crime area, and he was approached by a man who they believe wanted to rob him. The man fired a shot from about 20 to 30 feet away. Joe wouldn't give up his wallet. There was a bit of a tussle, and sadly, Joe was shot in the head during this exchange. And the shooter walked away with his wallet, but then dropped it and ran away. So at the end of the day, did not leave with any of Joe's possessions. Have at least $100 in it, according to his family. So still to this day, no idea who this person was, why. They believe it was a botched robbery, but they don't know if this was somebody that was following Joe from the train station or if it was just a total crime of opportunity in that area. But almost 30 years, his family has not had answers. They've had family members pass away since then. They've had a ton of new family members join their family. They all know about Uncle Joe. He was single, but a absolutely beloved uncle and very involved with his family and brothers. And they're just hoping after all this time, they'll finally have some answers.
Yeah. It's been so long, and yet you hear 1998, and you're like, that happened yesterday. Wow. All right. Well, thank you. We always want to know about these. Like we said, it's been a very somber day. There is another live image. This is in Florida. So basically, what's happening here is this is Major Cody Cork returning home to Polk County. Again, he was an Army Reserve major, and he died in the line of duty while serving in the Middle East. He was an Army Reserve captain. After he died, he was elevated to the rank of major, and his remains were brought back here to Lakeland International Airport. Lakeland, if you're not really super familiar with Florida, is about an hour, I would say, southwest of Orlando. So it's kind of like in between Tampa and Orlando. We know that he's being remembered as a leader, as a friend, and as a hometown hero. And again, you see a gentleman there, with his hat off right there. Plenty of people in that area. He was a graduate of the local high school there, and he actually attended college through the ROTC program. He served as a member of the military police as an officer, and then later went in to the Army Reserve. Again, he went in and then as a captain, he was serving as a captain, and after he died, his rank was elevated to major. It's just one of the stories that we're talking about because our country is at war. President Trump said this type of thing would happen. He doesn't want it to happen, but the president said we need to keep this country safe. 2 minutes, and we'll be right back. Welcome back in, everybody. This is Philadelphia Live. I'm Jen Frederick. I am here with Keith, JP, and Caitlin, and it has been